In putting together, word by word, the Messianic, Aleph Tav, interlinear scriptures, after years of hard work, the entire Tanakh is finally finished in 3 separate volumes. And as you can imagine, what I learned in the process took my understanding of biblical Hebrew and the Aleph Tav to a whole new level of understanding. And I still feel that the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know and how much there is to learn about this language. Now, it's common knowledge that there are over 400,000 Hebrew words that make up the 39 books of the King James Bible. But one very interesting fact is that there are over 30,000 Hebrew words that are only used one time in the entire Tanakh. That's almost 10%. Do you realize how incredible that truly is? I mean, how many books written in English that would contain over 400,000 words would contain nearly 10% of common English words used only one time? I dare say none would come even close. I found this fact when going through the automated process of putting the Strong's numbers beside the Hebrew words, something I thought would take a matter of only a few weeks. But to do the entire Tanakh, working 14 to 16 hours a day, it took me 6.5 months. And the reason it took me so long was because there were so many words that were only used one time, and even tens of thousands of more words that were used less than a dozen times. I found this astounding, and I verified this information with the people who put the interlinear scriptural analyzer together. This fact alone proves that the complexity and in-depth significance of the original Paleo-Hebrew script was truly more advanced than many of us have been led to believe. The truth is, what I have learned is there is nothing primitive about the original Paleo-Hebrew language. Now, I know some of you are thinking, how can there be over 30,000 words used only one time, when Strong's dictionary only has a little over 8,000 Hebrew words listed? Strong's dictionary, for the most part, focuses on the primary meaning of basic Hebrew words. As you can imagine, there are hundreds of different Hebrew words that share the exact same Strong's number because their primary root words are the same, even though numerous different spellings that build from these root words can be widely diverse in meaning. And this is why a definition in Strong's can be so broad in meaning, but with tens of thousands of Hebrew words being spelled so uniquely that caused their usage to be so limited, it would have been insane for Strong's to list every word in his dictionary that is spelled a little differently with a different number, when all he needed to do was express the primary basic Hebrew words and root words to convey their various meanings. This entire exhaustive undertaking further opened my eyes firsthand and made me question the possibility of how the English translation might still be made more comprehensive as further in-depth studies of the original Hebrew continue to advance. You see, my wife's maiden name is Stewart, and her family are direct descendants from the royal house of Stuart and King James Stuart. And while in England, we visited where King James commissioned the Bible and heard the story of how it was done. Now, the challenge for the King James translators, as brilliant as they were for their time, was trying to abridge Hebrew into an English translation with expressing the subject matter contained not only in each individual word, but also in verses, and yet be as accurate as they possibly could at expressing the complete meaning, and at the same time cause it to be able to be understood by the commoner. The whole project centered around the meaning of Hebrew words, and there were consistent debates, settled by compromises, and many times by the king himself. I can only imagine how arduous their job truly was, and why it took over 50 scholars 7 years to complete. And as marvelous as the work was, it is a well-known fact that hundreds of Hebrew words that were considered irrelevant still are left untranslated even today. I saw this firsthand and made sure to translate every word, leaving none out. There is no language ever spoken or written that can compare to biblical Hebrew. It is not only believed to be the language Yahuwah used to converse with Adam and Eve, it is also believed to be the language that was spoken long before the earth was created, and the language spoke to create all things that have ever existed, and was truly one of the greatest gifts given to mankind and used for thousands of years. Hebrew, like our Creator, is eternal, with a depth to it we have hardly come to grasp completely in the natural. It is a language that should not be made common or limited, but should be studied to uncover its limitless treasures. For all other languages are finite and will eventually cease to exist, or even be remembered. And its revival is not only both prophetic and miraculous, it's ongoing, and in some ways has only just begun. I'm Bill Sanford, trying to put biblical Hebrew in proper perspective in our day. Shalom.